Today we are here in the Canvas Corp Brands shop. This is the actual live in-person shop here in Springdale, Arkansas. And I am here hobnobbing with art celebrity Christopher Allen of Brutus Monroe.
Hi everyone. Hello.
And Christopher actually very graciously agreed to let me interview him. Clearly, he's never seen my interviews before, or he would have given it more thought.
I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Good. Okay, we asked everyone for some questions. If anyone had any questions for Christopher, we asked that on the Canvas Corp Brands Collective Facebook group. You can find that in a link below in the video description. And a few people had some questions, and then I'm going to make up some of my own that we can watch.
It should be fun.
Christopher struggle to answer. Okay, from the Facebook Collective group, Aaron Reed had a couple of questions. Aaron Reed wants to know, how do your mists differ from the Tattered Angels mists?
Okay, perfect. We actually have some of the mists up behind us. First, the really cool thing about our mists is they match all of our inks. So they match the inks perfectly. So if you were to purchase any of our seasons of inks, we have spring, summer, fall, and winter. The Tattered Angels folks have created these sprays to match perfectly, and they're a combination of what would be considered a chalkboard spray and a shimmer spray. So it's kind of a completely new concept to the Tattered Angels line because there are chalkboard sprays and there are beautiful glimmer mists and sprays. But we combined the two because I wanted something that was water based, which is what the new chalk shimmer mists are from Brutus Monroe. So it's a combination of two of my favorite things from Tattered Angels put into one.
Basically, it is the love child.
Yes.
The chalkboard mist and the glimmer mist.
Correct. So it has that great matte finish with a little bit of sparkle added to it.
A little bit of sparkle. Okay. Let's see. Erin had another question. She heard a rumor that you have a new person designing some stamp images for you.
Yes. Well, we've just recently brought on Chuck Carson. Chuck Carson is one of the most talented and sensational illustrators that I have ever met. So there is a full branded collection under Brutus Monroe for Chuck Carson, and his first stamps would have already released by the time this interview is released, and you can pick them up now. They are the Halloween collection, and they're just absolutely spectacular.
And they're flying out the door.
Yes, they are.
They are flying out the door.
Yes, and we have you'll see some new images coming from him as well as some paper really soon.
Oh, cool.
Be really cool.
Awesome. Okay. Christine Meyer wants to know, what inspires you to come up with your designs for stamps and your papers?
Really everything. It's odd because I will see a drapery panel, or I will see an umbrella, which there's one very large one in front of us, but I will see things everywhere, and it's so strange that it's something that might be a carpet, or it's literally a pattern that's on a table that's just wood, and it's just something will happen where I have to jot it down, and I would say, that would be a great texture on top of something else. And I work in a world where I start at the top of the project and work my way down, which is very different from, I think, the way a lot of people create with the base layer and then coming up from that. So I start at the very focal layer and then work my way down from that layer. So you can find, something that is a beautiful piece of art and then pull colors and pull textures and pull different things from that and work your way down. But again, it could be something that I see, an old logo on the side of a boat, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that would be a fantastic stamp. And then there's paper that comes out of that, and then there's ephemera. So it could be something as simple as an old logo on a bottle, and it,
So
kind of transcribes into different things.
Life is
yes,
inspiring.
Everyday life, and it's so strange because again, it's some things that no one might be inspired by. It's just
That's
weird, weird things. I'll see, patterns places that you wouldn't normally think would be a pattern for paper. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Next question is from Linda Israel. Linda wants to know if you have thought about making word or phrase stamps to go with your stamp sets. Something that could be
Yes,
used
actually,
in a card.
that is something we actually just had a meeting. If you guys haven't caught on, I'm at Canvas Corp headquarters because we're developing all sorts of new products and new goodies to bring to market. So we actually were talking about some really cool word stamp sets that you'll actually see in a kit form very soon. So I can't kind of elaborate on how that kind of kit situation will be, but you'll see that we will have many different word stamps coming that will kind of work into some of those different pieces. So I think it'll be really cool.
Ooh, we just got a teaser.
Yes.
That is so exciting.
Absolutely.
And I have a question from Joanne Brewer, who wants to know, when did you start your crafting designing journey? Tell us how that began.
Okay, that started about, about 2 years ago was when the concept for all of the Christopher Allen design umbrella, I guess, of products began. I was teaching classes at Packatans, which is a craft store that's owned by Doris. And I was teaching classes, and I was always complaining about inks. I was constantly saying, I need this ink for this, and I need this ink for that, and I felt like I was creating poems almost, and haikus to tell them, this is the ink you use for acetate, this is the ink that you use for cardstock, this is the ink that you use if you want a watercolor. And one of the women in the class, her name's Pat, hello Pat if you're watching, and she said, well, Christopher, why don't you create your own? And immediately I said, there's no way. I mean, that's too much. There's so much research and so much that goes into creating a brand and products. And I, went to bed that night and I thought to myself, maybe I can. And I literally called, and almost the equivalent of knocking door to door, asking who could do ink, who could do stamps. And I just went and just researched everything and finally found an ink manufacturer, worked very hard with developing the ink that we know today as the Brutus Monroe ink that will allow you to use it on acetate and on, different materials like metal and watercolor with it and things like that. And just kind of figured everything out at that point. And really what struck me to create the brand was, again, just things that I didn't have and things that I really thought were needed in the industry. And if it wasn't for Pat, I don't know if we would have Brutus Monroe, because she literally said, Christopher, you're always saying you want this or you want that or this would be great and you don't have it, so why don't you create it? And we did.
So we all owe Pat.
Yes, Pat.
You go, girl. Okay, that is all the questions that I had from the Canvas Corp Brands Collective. So
Okay.
we're going to go off script.
Perfect.
And one of my questions, which Christopher answered for me the other day, but I
Yes.
think everyone needs to hear it, is, okay, your name is Christopher Allen, your company is Brutus Monroe. What's up with that?
Well, Brutus Monroe is actually my little miniature pincher's name. When we were developing the brand, and this was about 2 years ago whenever the concept began, I couldn't think of a name. My little min pin fell ill, and luckily he's okay, so don't worry, he is just great. We took him to the vet, and I told him, I said, little Brutus Monroe, if you make it through this, now mind you, even if he wouldn't have made it through, we would have still named it that, but I said, we're going to name it Brutus Monroe. And he went into the vet, and he came out wagging his little tail. He was diagnosed with diabetes, so we have a little diabetic min pin, and he's doing great now. And we named it Brutus Monroe because it just made sense to me. I've always loved his name. When I adopted him, he was actually a rescue from an unfortunate dog fighting situation. Oh. So when I rescued him, his name was already Brutus. And I've always had an infatuation for the grace and beauty and just timelessness of Marilyn Monroe. So he got the middle name Monroe because I couldn't name him his first name, so I gave him the Monroe middle name. So you guys will see that there's going to be a really cool stamp set coming out, another sneak peek that will be coming out in November that will actually, the proceeds for the stamp set are going to go to Canine Diabetes, as well as we're going going to have a really special, Brutus bag that's coming out probably right before Christmas that will help the recovery of dogs that are involved in dog fighting. So we have a lot of great Brutus initiatives that are coming up as well.
That is very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, my little Min Pin that was rescued from dog fighting and he's diabetic now has a company named after him, and he acts like it. He's asking for more kibble, a larger bed. He's
a little diva now.
Correct. Absolutely. Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So you mentioned that before you started the company that you were teaching classes. So
Correct.
obviously you were crafty before you started the company.
Yes.
Is that something you've done your whole life?
Yes.
And how did you get started with that?
I started in crafting when I was very, very young. I have an Aunt Verge, who again, hello, I'm sure she'll be watching this because she is a wonderful, wonderful follower of everything that I do. And she had this room in her house, and I didn't know what a craft room was whenever I was probably like 6 or 7, and I had no idea what a craft room was. And I walked into this room of hers, and I was just in complete awe. I said, people can have a room that is devoted to crafting and art and things like that. And I would go over, and this is when we very, very first started, we were doing puff painting, when puff painting was very, very big, and you would cut out an applique and iron it on with fusible webbing and puff paint. And I couldn't wait to go to Aunt Verge's house because she had this room that had paint and sewing and all of these, and I had to have been 6 or 7 years old. And I just always grew up surrounded by creativity. My mom is extremely creative. Every time she would make up a gift bag or gift basket or anything that she was doing, I always wanted to be there. And she has taught me so much about the creative industry, as well as my Aunt Verge, and it's just, I've always been surrounded by it. And I've always worked in a career path that's either sales or marketing or something of that nature, and never really put the creative spin on what I was doing. I was always creating, but I never did it as an actual career, and it just all fell into place and just made sense to put it all together.
So it's in your blood.
Yes, I've been creating for as long as I can remember.
Very cool.
Yep.
We've talked a little bit about a couple of your products, but tell us what all Brutus Monroe carries, and then maybe show us a couple of things.
Okay, absolutely. We carry everything from the ink to the cleaner of the ink, to the sprays, to the paper products. We have a whole bunch of mixed media products. We have water brushes, stamps. We really went for the full kind of product effect, I guess. Our partnership with Canvas Corp, though, which is where we're at, is all of the papers. And I have a couple here that I want to show you that are a little bit different. First, this is our Mixed Elements paper pad. We have a couple variations of this pad. This is the Sand Dune pad, which has been very popular. But I wanted to show you what's different about these pads, and that is that they have different elements in them. So obviously they have the typical beautiful different designs in them. This is sand dune, so it's all obviously around the beach. But we also give you elements inside of the pad that will match with the theme. So this one comes with pieces of canvas that actually work very well with the chalk inks, because since they're permanent on fabric, you can stamp with your sand dune stamp set on the canvas and then cut out the little sails for the boat that matches the cardstock. So it's all one big circle of easy creativity, which is what I love.
Everything works together.
Everything works
goes
together. Yes. And then we gave you the corrugated cardboard, which again, you can stamp on the back of it. You can cut it out, and this can be the base of your sailboat or whatever you would like to use this for. You get 2 sheets of that. And then, of course, the gorgeous, gorgeous navy blue burlap, which is great for your water. So if you want to cut this out and use it for water, or again, I use a lot of these elements within just creating backgrounds. And, you know, if you get, say, a piece of the regular neutral burlap, they spray beautifully with the sprays. You can use our re-inkers with them. You can watercolor with our ink on them. So there's a lot of versatility with the different pieces in the different collections, especially with the mixed media paper. And also, all of our paper, any paper that you purchased that is on a white background is foilable. So obviously foiling is all the rage right now. Everyone is foiling everything. And this foiling, you can use this with your Mink machine. You can use this with just a regular laminator. And if you have deco foil or art foil or the Mink foil or any of the foil that are out there, you can actually run this paper through the laminator with a foil sheet and it foils it beautifully, which is awesome. So you can then take it even to another level, which is the 12 by 12 paper that we've just started doing. We hadn't had 12 by 12 paper in the past, so we just started doing 12 by 12, and you'll see a new paper size that we're actually have a meeting about this afternoon. But this 12 by 12 paper, I really love because it shows you kind of on the front what you are able to do with it. It is 100% foilable, which again is what this little guy here is telling us, and it's all colorable. So you can see that obviously right here it's not completely colored in, and that was to give you the effect that you can obviously color in the paper if you would like to. So this is called Vintage Textiles, and all of the designs are based upon vintage fabrics. You get 2 of each.
That just wants to be colored in.
Yes.
It's like screaming, color.
Yes, exactly. If you check out the Christopher Allen Design YouTube channel, you see where I've misted these and foiled them and then turned them into envelopes, which is something that's I mean, just a wow factor for someone, you know, a friend to get in the mail. And you get 24 sheets in here, so you get 24 12 by 12 sheets for only $19.99. So that is usually these sheets. I mean, you would get them for $2 a piece for a 12 by 12.
Right.
That would be, you know, foilable and colorable and all of those, you know, amazing things. So it's really cool. And the 12 by 12 paper again, literally just happened last month is when we debuted the 12 by 12. Yes.
Okay, I think that's probably all that I have today. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you.
I will put all of Christopher's social media links in the video description, so you can go and stalk him like a crazy person. And if you have any questions, just leave a comment on the video, and we'll make sure they get answered for you. And thank you for watching.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye. Have a great day.
End.
Bye-bye.
And we have a question from, you like how I just pick up?
Yes, it's perfect.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
Awesome. I like self-edit.
Yes. You're a YouTuber. That's what we do.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to take a break because you can't focus on anything.
Oh, no, I see them now. You found them.
Yes, we'll
Perfect.
The camera doesn't feel right.
Is it recording?
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Perfect. Done.
Okay, let me just do this.